Whatever transpired, Rhaenyra is not innocent.
Only because Daemon tried to corrupt her.
Daemon and Rhaenyra share the blood of the dragon. They are restless and chaotic.
Daemon and Rhaenyra are the two heads of Team Black and some of the most well-known characters in House of the Dragon. To some, this is an unstoppable power couple, and to others, the authorities need to be notified immediately. But either way, this is one of the most well-known and supported ships in the fandom, surprisingly. So I'm left with a question. Clearly, Daemon and Rhaenyra's marriage is one of fire and passion, but can we really call this relationship between uncle and niece love? Do they truly love one another, or is this just a fatal attraction that could end up screwing them both over in the long run? Let's see if we can answer that. First things first though, if you haven't seen my Daemon and Rhaenyra videos, by all means, go ahead and check those videos out on my channel. But let's go ahead and give a quick rundown on who these characters are. Rhaenyra is the firstborn child and daughter of the late King Viserys Targaryen, and his named heir, though her younger brother Aegon currently holds the throne. Daemon is the younger brother of the late King Viserys, and as such is the uncle of Queen Rhaenyra. He's a warrior, dragon rider, and often viewed as a rogue by the people. His intentions are always a mystery, but most of them contain thoughts of violence, of fire, and blood. I've made it clear in earlier videos of mine that I do not see the relationship of Daemon and Rhaenyra as one of true love, like a lot of people in the fandom seem to believe. A common consensus among some fans is that the two of them are actually soulmates and should have been married from the start of the story. If that had happened, then a lot of the problems would have been averted, which I truly don't believe. Daemon and Rhaenyra are a problematic duo, and while I will admit there are feelings and a connection between the two of them, they are far from pure and healthy, though I know some of you may try to debate me on that in the comments. This marriage is founded on passion and desire, of fire, and when you fight fire with fire, the flames only burn brighter. But let me take a step back. Why do I not think this relationship is a loving one? I mean, the two of them got married, they look happy, and they even have 2 children together. What could possibly be wrong with this? Well, aside from the incest, since this is Game of Thrones and incest is the norm for House Targaryen, let's start with the fact that Daemon is her uncle. And what I mean by that is, he's literally old enough to be her father. Which is funny, since as a kid, Rhaenyra wouldn't entertain people that old.
That was unseemly, Princess.
The man is older than my father. It's unseemly for him to put himself forward as a contender for my hand.
Now, granted, this guy is significantly older than Rhae and probably old enough to be her grandfather, but at this stage, she's 17 years old and Daemon is in his 30s, correct me if I'm wrong. This romance screams that she's been groomed, and I don't think people who ship this actually acknowledge just how creepy this is. They just focus on, oh, incest is acceptable in House Targaryen. I mean, just think about it. Daemon is her uncle. Daemon watched her grow up. He was there when Aemma gave birth to her, when she took her first steps, learned how to talk, and even ride a dragon for the first time. Ever since the series started, Daemon has been giving Rhaenyra some form of special attention. The necklace, for example, which he puts on her and calls beautiful. The whole instance is framed in a way that we don't know what he's referring to, his niece or the necklace. But I think it's safe to say that it's pretty obvious that Daemon has had his eye on her for a while. But how long is the question? He's not just that fun-loving uncle, he's a really loving uncle. But of course, I hear you in the comments section. It's the times. After all, Alicent is 14 when she's pushed towards Viserys. Of course, stuff like that is normal and legal, but that doesn't make it any less disgusting. Especially Daemon's relationship with Rhae. As I said before, he basically watched her grow up. He probably held her as a baby too. So now that he's taken this interest in her after all these years, at such a young age, it's creepy. And what's even worse is that she's into him too. Of course, the familial barrier is very thin and faded in House Targaryen, but it seems like it's non-existent between these two. So you have to wonder how things got to this point. Why is Daemon so interested in Rhaenyra? Why is Rhaenyra so interested in Daemon to the point that she watches his every move? For Daemon, I don't want to sell his character short. While he is most definitely a groomer, giving Rhaenyra gifts, special attention, and saying she's matured before taking her to places like a brothel, there is more at play. He does care about her, and I will say he has love for her, but I don't think he's in love with her. Now, I'm not going to make an argument where Daemon only wants Rhaenyra because she's the key to the throne. While I'm sure that is a factor, I don't think it's the sole motivation. He does have feelings for her, he's attracted to her, and creepy or not, he does want good things for her. But I will never buy into the idea that he's head over heels in love with her like some people believe. I mean, this is the same guy who challenged her in front of everyone, freshly after her coronation, and then choked her in private because he didn't like the words that were coming out of her mouth. I feel like the only person Daemon ever truly loved with all his heart was Viserys. Despite defying him so many times and putting him in such precarious situations, all Daemon wanted was his brother's approval. Any challenge he ever gave him was a hollow one, and never once has he ever openly tried to usurp his throne, despite constantly undermining his authority. I don't think he has that same admiration and respect for Rhaenyra, but moving on. I feel like he's more attracted to the idea of Rhaenyra, not because they're meant for each other or because she's such an amazing person to have in his life and makes him a better person. Before they even got together officially, it's been over a decade since they've even seen each other in the same room. Daemon has this really unhealthy obsession with his ancestors and of old Valyria, and I think he passed it on to Rhaenyra when she was younger because they seem to be the only two Targaryens who actually speak Valyrian at the start of the story. The Rogue Prince, or shall I say Rogue King, because he's technically married to a queen, has a very firm belief and idolization of his heritage, and I believe that's where his love for Rhaenyra stems from, because she's a Valyrian, but more than that, a Targaryen. And that may seem odd if that's the case, because what about Laena? Laena's Valyrian, she has Targaryen blood from her mother Rhaenys, and yet it's pretty much said that he wasn't satisfied with his life with her. And let me detour for a moment. I may have mentioned this in my other videos, but just in case I haven't, let me just say there is some symbolism with his marriage with Laena. For years, Daemon has been a guy who lived on his whims and passions, following his house words to the letter, fire and blood. But what happens when fire meets water? Daemon's relationship with Laena was him actively cooling himself down and stifling his inner fire. He did care for her, but she was only a means to an end to keep him in check. So now with Rhaenyra, there is only fire meeting fire, and each day things just get hotter. And that speaks to their relationship. How long until they end up getting burned themselves? Because not even Targaryens in this world are immune to fire. But moving on to what I was saying before. Daemon, in my eyes, enjoys the idea of Rhaenyra, of marrying a true Targaryen princess as in tradition with House Targaryen. He's definitely a Valyrian exceptionalist. He buries his head in Valyrian history and even tries to invoke Valyrian customs like taking a second wife. He even compares himself to Aegon the Conqueror.
You said I could have anything. I want Rhaenyra. I'll take her as she is and wed her in the tradition of our house.
You are already wed.
That didn't stop Aegon the Conqueror from taking a second wife.
You are no conqueror. You are a plague.
While I won't say he doesn't have feelings for Rhaenyra, it's definitely not true love. I think it's more so that Rhaenyra just fits the bill, a way to feel more attuned to his heritage and bloodline. But feel free to offer another interpretation. As for why Rhaenyra loves Daemon, I once again don't think this is love. I think she thinks she loves Daemon, but I would dare to say that her relationship with Daemon is really just a substitution for her relationship with her father, Viserys. Viserys, despite being mostly loved by the fandom, was not a good father to his kids. Alicent's children more so, but before he started treating Rhaenyra like she was the only person in the world that mattered, he didn't pay that much attention to her. Rhaenyra feels like she's been looked over for years by Viserys in her youth. Ever since she was a child, Viserys constantly went on and on about having a son to claim the throne and carry on his legacy. It must have been painful for Rhaenyra, being right there but being looked over for a child that hasn't even been conceived yet. A boy was Viserys' obsession for years, and that knowledge made Rhaenyra feel incomplete, unworthy when that was all she wanted to be. And we see these frustrations come to light after the birth of Aegon, how she firmly believes Viserys loves him more than her and that she's going to be replaced.
Will you not be helped? Why must every effort on your behalf be resisted, as if to the death?
Because you mean to replace me with Alicent Hightower's son, the boy you always wanted.
I feel like it's important to note that this isn't about the throne. Well, it is, but not in the way that you think. The throne isn't just a symbol of power and leadership. It's a symbol of acceptance and approval. To be named the heir to the throne is basically to be chosen, to be told you're worthy, you're good enough. And that's what motivates a lot of people, like Daemon, Rhaenyra, and even Aegon II. Appreciation and approval. Acceptance. Those things to them translate into love. And I think that's why Rhaenyra is so obsessed with Daemon. She has daddy issues, to say the least. So when she doesn't get what she wants and needs from her father, she goes looking for it somewhere, or shall I say, in someone else. Daemon seems to be the only person who truly cared for her outside of her own mother without any sort of condition or strings attached. He makes her feel seen, wanted, and desired, like she's enough. It's easy for him to worm his way in and make a connection with Rhaenyra because she's lacking that with her father. The kind words, the gifts, the special treatment. It's grooming at its finest, but it makes her feel like someone actually cares for her. Daemon treats her like a princess, so she latches onto that and runs with it, and so she becomes obsessed with him. When he returns from the Stepstone, she follows his every step. When he comes back from Pentos, she basically stalks him at the funeral, and then accuses him of abandoning her at his wife's funeral.
I've been alone. You abandoned me.
I spared you. You were a child.
Yes. Yes, I was a child. And look at what my life became without you.
Her cousin just died, his wife. Then the father of her children is dead too. Yet all of that comes second to being with him. Rhaenyra is attached to Daemon in my eyes, infatuated with him, and mistakes that for romance and love, as do a lot of the viewers in my opinion. While yes, the union is a fire and passion, that doesn't make it a good thing. It's not the one love to end all loves. This marriage is of selfishness and personal desires. I mean, they literally get married not even days after the death of his wife and her lover. Think of the impact this had on their kids, Rhaenyra's sons who just lost 2 father figures, and Daemon's daughters who just lost their mother, her dragon, and for all they know, their uncle in an apparent murder. Sure, they seem fine later, but I doubt they just accepted this when they were kids. But moving forward, in my eyes, this is not a praiseworthy relationship. It's not built on this forbidden love like people claim it is. It's unhealthy to say the least, especially when it comes to someone like Daemon. As I mentioned numerous times in my videos, Daemon is unpredictable, and I don't question his loyalty to Rhaenyra, but Daemon often thinks his way is the only way, and that's through fire and blood. I could easily see him undermining Rhaenyra's authority in the near future because he believes he knows better. And I wonder how Rhaenyra could potentially react to that. Maybe she'll see why her father sent him away and kept him at bay for so long. But who knows? Those are just my 2 cents on this relationship. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.